The things I'm most excited about getting out of this is how she's going to navigate and show us how to connect our wealth with our assignment and our prosperity with the purpose. Because a lot of people have wealth, but she's made a decision to take her wealth, Pastor Dani, to take her wealth. I mean, Dani Johnson, to take her wealth and just turn her wealth into just absolute blessing of the people. So she fully understands that she's blessed to be a blessing. So just so excited. Any have we found out, Francine, do we have any first timers here? I know I invited a lot of people. We invited a lot of some of the people that worked on Pastor Bill Winston's staff and the financial office, Valerie Darvell, who worked with yeah, we got some different people. I see a few different faces here tonight. If you're here for the first time, let's get some of the people to let us know who they are if they're here for the very, very first time. When Dani finishes, when she's done, I want to share a little something briefly with the ladies. After she builds us up about our wealth, I want to point us and funnel us in the direction of how we can take our wealth and empower other women and keep blessing and empowering other women. One of the things that she and I both share in common is our philanthropic heart to help other women with digging wells, building schools, empowering other young ladies to be able to go to school. And you can see I'm so excited. Look at me, I'm sweating like I'm the one speaking. Can y'all believe this? I'm in sunny California sweating like I'm the one speaking. That's how excited I am, Tammy, about this tonight. Look at what you're doing in the lives of all of us. You got us so excited. If anybody excited with me tonight, put your hands up in the air and let's just show some excitement for anybody coming on. We are no bunch of dead women. We're excited. We're driven women. And I still believe that something is being birthed out of this that's going to be much bigger than any of us could ever see. And I want to make sure that I don't go out. I got 3 more minutes. I don't want to go out of my time frame into Dani's time frame, because I don't know, like the rest of you, I'm sure you guys are ready to just receive everything that we can have from her. I know one of the things that I've been most excited about is that when I listen to her story, and I've been playing her things on all my different social media platforms, we begin to push some of her teachings in South Africa, because some of the things we couldn't boost from the YouTube channel, but she did have some things that are allowed to be played in South Africa. Then I boost some of her teachings in Nigeria. The Nigerians got excited. The South Africans got excited. So we've invited some warriors on here. They're going to be up this time of the night in South Africa, ready to receive Dani. And so the thing that I love the most is that, as I said earlier, that when she obtained her wealth, she understood that it has an assignment, that it's not just about her. And I've always believed that prosperity is not true prosperity unless it's spilling over and it's blessing somebody else. So I'm very excited about being just stirred to another level. I know there's a lot of people that we want to help. We got a phone call like on yesterday. There's Ashton's family. I think I shared it last week. Their orphanage, if you guys remember last week, the orphanage, 900 of those orphans, 450 had been infected with COVID-19, and they were trying to figure out how they were going to quarantine them. It was going to be $20,000 to take them off to this game park resort to be able to quarantine them. And God, in his infinite wisdom, pulled it off where the government is going to be paying for it. A person tried to come against them and bulldoze them down and tear them down and tell them that you guys can't go any further. And it was like a modern day story with Haman and Mordecai, like the plot that the man schemed against Ashton's parents to shut the orphanage down. They said, where are we going to put 900 orphans? I don't care. And then next thing you know, somebody that he was superior, who was a friend to Ashton's parents, showed up on the scene, intervened for them. And the man himself, not only is he no longer going to be able to threaten him, he no longer has a job. And the government now is going to pay. Come on, can we give the Lord some praise for 900 kids to be in like a Kruger Park gang resort, 5-star resort in South Africa, 3 meals a day. Don't you tell me what my God won't do for you. And that's why I just a firm believer that wealth always has an assignment. It's just so exciting. It's just like money is waiting for somebody to just say, doom, 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 doo, doo. I'm willing to take this and do what God wants executed in the earth. And how many of you were blessed by Brother Wally last week? Says that money is homeless, looking for a house to land in. He was so blessed by you ladies. And I think we have Dani in place. I have 1 minute. I'm going to do like they do in Congress. You know, on the Congress floor, when a person is done with what they need to do, they yield their time to the statesman from the next particular region of the state. I'm going to yield the rest of my time to the stateswoman, Dani Johnson. Come on, let's give her a hand. Look like she's in place. Is she in place, Tammy? I saw her face there, it looks like.
Not yet. I'm going to bring her up. Yeah.
I see her. Dani, I'm yielding the floor and the rest of my time on the floor to the stateswoman. Dani,
yes, She is. And I just want to say thank you, ladies, so much for coming on tonight. This is going to be a great night for you all. I'm telling you, let me tell you my story before I bring up Dani Johnson. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I had to take some notes down because I wanted to make sure that you understand what is about to take place. Because, you know, we've been meeting together for the last month and a half, and you ladies and gentlemen has been creating vision. And so this is so good how God just orchestrated and ordained this day to happen. So this is the day that you want to put in your book because you get ready to see a new vision, things that's going to take place. But let me tell you a little bit about before I met Dani Johnson. Some of you all don't know this, okay? But I'm getting ready to tell you my story, okay? Before I met Dani Johnson, I was suicidal. My husband and I was drowning in debt. We were living from paycheck to paycheck. Our relationship was horrible, and I did not even know my children. And I had a very poor relationship in my community. And some of you on here, y'all know my story, y'all know me. But let me tell you something. After I attended Dani Johnson First Step to Success, let me tell you what happened to me and who I am today. I am no longer suicidal. I am very happy and I am very focused, okay? I paid off, my husband and I, we paid off $1.2 million in debt. We are not living from paycheck to paycheck. We have a healthy relationship with our children, and I have developed a very great relationship with my community. So, but let me tell you, the reason why we have Vision Book Club is because my mentor, my coach, my favorite millionaire, Dani Johnson, is the one who inspired me to start this Vision Book Club. So I just wanted to introduce you to her, and I wanted to bring her on the stage so she can give you what she has given me, understanding about money, because I am no longer going from paycheck to paycheck. I am not in this time. When I met her, it was when the market crashed, okay? And I was not making any sales. But let me tell you, in this pandemic, me and my husband, we don't have to worry about money. We don't even have to worry about sales, because let me tell you, things are happening in my life, and I am so excited to bring you my mentor, my coach, my favorite millionaire, Dani Johnson. Please take the stage.
Oh man, this is me crying. You know what I'm saying? Oh my gosh. Tammy, and also Dr. Bailey, I'm super grateful for the very kind words in which both of you guys have spoken. The only reason why I'm here tonight is because of Tammy. She is one persistent and very excited woman about this group that she has formed. And she is a prayer warrior, and she just kept praying and praying and praying. And this would never be a time that I would actually do this. I'm about to head into our event, First Steps to Success, here in a couple of days. And I don't usually do anything outside of just prepping for that. And so, Tammy, thank you for the invitation. And I'm so proud of you. Like, every time I hear you tell your story, it brings tears to my eyes, because I remember the woman that you were. And I see the woman that you are today. And it blows my mind to see all that has happened in your life. And, you know, we can say all that God has done, yes, but Tammy did her part. And there's, you know, God's willing to do what we're willing to do with him. You know what I'm saying? And so oftentimes we want something to happen and we expect it to fall out of the sky. But the Bible shows us loud and clear that that's not how things happen. We have to be a part making things happen and partnering with him. And so for those of you I have not had the chance to meet yet, I see a couple of familiar faces, beautiful faces, by the way. All of you guys look amazing tonight. And I'm sorry for the lighting. I'm in my prayer room actually right now. This is Moses right behind me. And right over there is a young woman in Nicaragua. That was her home in a dump site, along with thousands of other people. And she now is in a home because of the work that Tammy and myself and a few other people that are on this Zoom call right now that have done. We built 2,000 homes in 5 years for the extreme poor who were living in unbelievable levels of poverty. So anyway, I want to tell you, for those of you who haven't had the chance to meet, my name is Dani Johnson. And prior to being in this whatever position that I'm in right now, I grew up on welfare. Both my husband and I grew up on welfare. Both of us also were molested. I was molested from the time I was 3 until I was 16. I was horribly abused. My husband also was abused for several years. His mom was married and divorced 3 different times. There was always a new man coming in that, you know, she was telling him to call dad. He didn't meet his real dad till he was 13 years old. Myself, I had been raised in a drug-infested home, and the kind of drugs that cause a crazy amount of violence started off with weed. I crack up whenever people say that weed doesn't make anyone violent. I just want to smack everyone who tries to cling to that, because I grew up in a violent home and weed was the main drug until I was about 14. My mom broke her neck when I was 11, which resulted by the time I was 14, it completely changed our finances. Initially, you know, growing up on welfare, where there'd be times where we didn't know what there would be for dinner. Sometimes dinner would be a Wonder Bread. If any of you remember Wonder Bread, I don't even think they make it anymore. But Wonder Bread is that stuff that you put peanut butter on it. It sticks to the roof of your mouth, and it takes like, you got to get some tool to get that thing off the roof of your mouth, because it's like, I don't know what the heck that bread was, but it was so good. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't good for us, but anyway, which is why they don't make it anymore. Anyway, so Wonder Bread with margarine and garlic salt. Sometimes that would be dinner, because my parents actually chose to buy drugs with their food stamps, or trade food stamps for drugs instead of food for their children. And so this is the kind of lifestyle that I was raised in. And I'm like paraphrasing a whole lot of things. I was a part of every bad statistic that exists, right? My mom was a teen pregnancy. Her mother was a teen pregnancy. Her mother before her was. And then here was I, 17 years old, out of wedlock, pregnant, living in a tiny little town in Northern California where well, there were more churches than there were gas stations and grocery stores. And you can only imagine, yeah, my parents are drug addicts and everyone knows that. I end up pregnant by the deacon's son. Come on, girls, you know exactly how the rest of the story goes, right? So, of course, the gossip was that I seduced him. That was not the case. He tried to get into my pants for the 4 solid years. I finally buckled with the same pitch that has been used on many people and have worked over and over again. We shouldn't let teenage boys know this pitch, but we should let every girl know this pitch. Oh, we're going to get married anyway. How many of you heard that one, right? Well, I did, and I suckered in, and I ended up pregnant the very first time. And so that baby today is 33 years old, and she has a whole brood of children herself. So long story short, pregnant at 17, I then became homeless at the age of 21. I was very destructive with myself, and I was foolish financially, right? I was 18 years old. I was handed a credit card, right? Just like most of us. And it came in the mail, right? And my gosh, it felt like it was free money. So I maxed those suckers out immediately. And then, oh, I got to pay this back. Okay. So I actually started in business when I was 19. And that was the first time I went into debt, was in business and using my credit cards to do advertising or whatever. That first business turned out to be a complete failure. Then I ended up homeless. I met and married a guy that I knew for 7 days. I'm just trying to give you an idea of how dumb I was, right? I meet a guy that I know for 7 days. 7 days later, I'm married to him. That's exactly 30. Yeah, it was 1990. So yeah, a long time ago, 30 years ago, like exactly this past June. So I end up within months, completely homeless. And I'm 21 years old. My bank account had been overdrawn. My credit cards were completely maxed out. I owed people money. My car was being searched for, and that's actually what I was living in. And I was doing all kinds of drugs. When my mom broke her neck and all of a sudden they had money, we went from Wonder Bread, you know, and garlic salt for dinner to now they were buying steaks. They bought a big house. I was in that house for 2 years. I moved out of that house when I was 16 because I was tired of being molested on a weekly basis and no one doing anything about it. I was tired of all the abuse. I was sick and tired of the lifestyle that my parents were offering for us. And so bottom line was I end up homeless, and now I start experimenting with all kinds of drugs. And I start giving my body over to anyone that would have me. And this is how I survived breakfast, lunch, and dinner. How I ate was simply by who I would sleep with that day. Talk about a cheap prostitute, a cheap whore is what I had become. And trying to commit suicide. In fact, the first time I tried to commit suicide, I was 6 years old. That's how horrific the house was that I was being raised in. And so now I'm 21 and I'm homeless. And guess what? I am fighting every single day to stay alive. Every day I'm being pounded by what a failure I was and how my dad didn't love me. And that turned out that when I was 17 and pregnant, I found out that the man that raised me wasn't even my dad, that I had a different dad. And this guy was from Nicaragua. Like, where the heck is that? I wasn't all that good in school. So when I heard Nicaragua, I'm like, what state is that in? Wasn't even a part of our country. So I failed geography. I know where it is now. I've been there several times. But so I was that kid that just couldn't help but to fail. I couldn't help but to keep screwing up. I couldn't help but to have people not like me. I couldn't help but to not make things work. I was just that person. And I really believed that my life was going to be like this forever. I truly believed with everything that I had in me that I would never be able to trust anybody. Everyone would always be there to screw me over, that nothing would ever go right for me, that poverty is what I was destined for. Not only that, but I hated money, because when my parents got money, all it did was bring more violence. It brought, bikers to the house, and it brought like more pain, and the molesting started even more when the more money they had. And so money didn't make things better in the house I grew up in. Money made things worse, and it made things hurt, and I felt even more controlled, and I felt even more, there was way more abuse after cocaine was introduced into our household. And so here I am, I'm 21. It is Christmas Eve, and I did the most unthinkable thing, the thing I said I swore I would never do, and that was a line of cocaine. I hated cocaine with a passion because of what it did to our family. And that night I did the cocaine. I was so drunk and I was so high. I'd smoked so much weed and snorted that one line that the next day, I don't remember how I got to the beach. I don't remember where I slept or who with that night. All I know is I got up and I needed another line of cocaine, and I offered my body to several people for another line of cocaine. That's how desperate, broke, and broken that I was as a young 21-year-old female, wanting to kill myself. So no one has any. I get upset. It's 10 o'clock in the morning after I offered my body to the cook that I worked with. I was a cocktail waitress. And I went and I dove underneath a wave, and we were at a beach party. And I heard a voice say, "Pick up your mat and walk," not knowing whose this voice was, and also not knowing that that was the word of God, and that was God's voice saying, "Pick up your mat and walk." All of a sudden, the desire for the cocaine left me, and I went straight for my beach mat, and I rolled it up, and I started walking to where my car was. That next day, that same voice guided me to start a business from the trunk of my car and a payphone booth. And my first 10 hours, which took 4 days, I made $2,000. I reinvested that, as well as I got myself into an apartment on January 5th of 1991. I was no longer humiliated with homelessness and no longer terrified with absolute debilitating fear, painful fear, staying up all night long wondering, am I going to get raped again? Am I going to die tonight? Am I going to get stung by something, bit by something, stolen from? Now I had an apartment and I had some safety. The next month I made over $6,500 with that same little part-time business. The next month over 10 grand, the next month over 14 grand. By my 10th month, my income was over $80,000 a month. My first year, I made $250,000, and this was done on a part-time basis. By the end of my second year, I made my first million. I have started many businesses throughout my life as a businesswoman. And we're talking about a kid who was a high school dropout. I didn't read until I was 21 years old and homeless. I was not one to succeed. I was not the person likely or slated to have great success. So being invited on this call to talk about wealth and to have done what I've had the chance to do all these years, because when I found that path to success first and then wealth, because success comes before wealth, when I started to find that path, I had this burning desire to like shout from the mountaintops, hey, there is a way to do this. There's a way, it's simple, it's not difficult. I'm not a smart person. There's a simple way to accumulate wealth. The first 10 years that my husband and I made money, we spent all of it, which, to be quite honest with you, is the first thing not to do when you're trying to create wealth. But that's the first thing we did. We did what the market told us to do. We did what TV tells you to do. When we made money, we spent all of it. And then we spent some of other people's as well, like the banks, right? We had credit card debt. In fact, after 10 years of making money, I ended up with a fatal heart condition. I had 5 children. We had bought our dream house, whatever that is, 5,600 square feet, decked out, magazine quality looking home, had the cars, had a $250,000 wardrobe, had $250,000 worth of jewelry, rode around in limousines. I mean, I spent it all. I did everything that the market tells us to do with money. If I wanted it, I bought it. And then all of a sudden, we end up with a crazy amount of debt. I have a heart condition and I'm faced with retirement and faced with dying of this fatal heart condition. And it was very clear that our life had to change. In fact, 5:30 in the morning, I went in for this test on my heart. 8:30 in the morning, we get a call from the doctor telling us what the thing is. There's a doctor on here right now. I had reverse entrance supraventricular tachycardia, which means that I had 2 electrical pathways in my heart, and that the side effect was sudden death, which meant that I could die and no one would be able to save me. I'm 31 years old. I have 5 children. I have 2 businesses. I'm married. I have a huge amount of responsibility, and we have almost $1 million worth of debt. And the next phone call was our stockbroker telling us that we lost all of our life savings in the stock market. After 10 years of making a lot of money, all we managed to save was $100,000. My husband put all of it in the stock market, and that was March 17th of 2000. And if any of you have been around for more than 25 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That was the dot-com crash, and it crashed on all the money that we had saved, which wasn't much, $100,000, meaning in the grand scope of how much we had actually made. We were not good stewards of our money at all. We spent it all, managed to squirrel away $100 grand, and we lost that all on the same day I was diagnosed with my fatal heart condition. 5 minutes later, we get another phone call, and it is from a woman who I consider to be my spiritual mom. And she called to find out what the doctors had said. And I just told her, and I'm bawling my eyes out. And they said I have to retire. I can't fly. I can't work. I need to reduce my stress. I have 5 children. How in the world am I going to reduce my stress? Give me a flipping break. How do you reduce your stress when you have 5 kids and a husband? That a husband alone is enough stress, right? Like it's enough to like crash a bat over your head sometimes. Not to mention 2 babies and all the way up to 7 years old. Like, oh my gosh, how do you do this, right? So long and the short of it is, I tell her what happened. I told her also the stockbroker called and said that we lost everything. And she says to me, Dani, I woke up this morning with a word for you. Forget the former things, for I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? It springs up now. I will make waterways in a desert and springs in a wasteland. I started bawling more than I was already crying because of this horrible situation that we got ourselves into. That in the past we would say, oh, the devil did this or the devil. No, the devil did do nothing. Dani and Hans did it all. We did all, everything we weren't supposed to do with money, we did it. So I hang up the phone with her and I found myself praying a lot and not feeling God's presence ever, feeling like I had been forsaken and abandoned. And I remember saying to him, if I don't ever get to hear your voice again, I'm fine with that. I'm still going to tell my children about you. I'm still going to cling to you. I'm still coming to you. If I never see another miracle again, if this is the condition of my life forever, okay, that's fine. What you did for me at the cross was enough. This started a different journey for our lives, and God began to teach us about money. He started to confront me about my spending, having me look around this huge house that we're in and asking me the question, who is this all for? What is this really all about? Do your kids need this? I'm thinking, gosh, my kids don't need everyone doesn't need to have their own bedroom. They don't need 10 acres. They don't need a pool and a tennis court. They don't need any of this stuff. They used to have a Walmart swing set and they were just fine. They don't need all of this. Is this for Hans? Who is this all for? No, it's not for Hans. My husband could be barefoot in a coffee shack back in his home in Hawaii where he grew up poor. Not for him. I'm running out of people. Who is this all for? Oh geez. Lord, it's obviously not for you. Do you know that, friend, I convinced myself that showing money on the outside was to glorify God. I had gone to a church that was a prosperity gospel message, where the pastor lived in $1 million home. He flew around in private jets that all of us paid for, right, with the tithe. Piped open $600 bottles of wine amongst themselves. This is what happened behind the closed doors that nobody ever sees. So I had gotten into my head that this is, that I will attract people into the kingdom of heaven if I show the money we make. If we have expensive clothes and I wear lots of jewelry, and if we have this big expensive house, I can say, oh, this is all to the glory of God. No, this is the glory of my stupidity, is what it was. So I began to study the Bible, and I looked up every single passage about money, every single one of them. Friend, there are 2,500 that I came across. There's probably more, but I came across 2,500 scriptures on money. About the tithe, about the offering, money itself. I didn't even look up the stuff concerning silver and gold. That probably had a whole bunch more, actually, now that I think about it. I looked up the 2,500 scriptures that also included wealth, every scripture that talked about wealth, every scripture talked about money, that talent, any scripture that talked about poverty or poor, all of those scriptures. And it took me a long time to look up and study thoroughly. I was that person that I wanted to honor God. I wanted to do what was right. And if I was going to talk to my children about money, I certainly didn't want to mislead them. And then as God brought me back out of retirement and into working again and working with people and paving the way for others to be able to do this, guess what? Now it was even more responsibility of I cannot in any way, I don't ever want to be one of those preachers that has completely deceived people with messaging that only helps them. I want to make sure that I'm not going to mislead people. So I dove deep into understanding money. I'm going to give you one of the first things that I found. Deuteronomy 8:18. It is I who have given you the power to create wealth. To create wealth, which means that takes physical labor. To create something, do you understand? Let's break this apart. It is I who have given you, that's you who you're listening to, I can see your faces, you can see mine. It is I, the Father, is named Yahweh in Hebrew. It is I who have given you the power to create wealth. Man, I prayed into that Lord, wow. That means you got to work for it. That doesn't mean that it's find the secret code. What's the secret prayer? What's the secret tongue? What's the secret formula? No, it is I who have given you the power to create wealth. He's given all of us the power. It's in us, the power to create, which means our hands have to do something, right? So there's a whole nother passage where he talks about that he says that he will bless the work of our hands. Well, if our hands are not working, he does not bless. So he blesses the work of our hands. I believe also the work of our mouths, right? Because many of our careers deal with people. All of us deal with people. So that means that he blesses our communication as well, right? Another one. These are simple things, right? I could literally go through all 2,500 scriptures with you, and I probably would love that. You'd probably hate it because there's a lot of repetition, number one, which I personally love. Anyway, so when I came to that first passage, it is I who have given you the power to create wealth. Because what I found is that there's two different types of people, especially in the religious world. Ones that believe in poverty and they sell poverty from the pulpit, and the others that sell riches from the pulpit, which the Bible speaks against both. But the Bible says this: wealth is accumulated little by little. Wealth is accumulated little by little. Well, how can you accumulate something if you're not saving the something? Wealth is accumulated little by little. Wealth is accumulated. I want you to think about that. Little by little. So in 10 years, my husband and I figured out the skill set of making money. And we got very, very good at making money. All of you are good at making money. But see, what our culture tells us is that to become wealthy means you have to make more money. No, it's a lie. That's a straight up lie. And let me prove it to you. You're making more money today than when you first entered the workforce. Well, I entered the workforce at 13 years old, babysitting. You probably entered the workforce probably doing something very, very similar. We were teenagers, right? I made $1 an hour. You probably made somewhere around that, unless you're younger than I am, and then it'd be like $3 an hour, $5 an hour. If you're older than I am, it might have been 25 cents an hour. And if it was 25 cents an hour, we probably know how old you are. So don't say that was me. $1 an hour tells you I was a teenager in the 70s and early 80s. Early 80s, I was a teenager. So long and the short of it is that if he's given us power and wealth is accumulated little by little, that means that we can't spend it all. You have to keep it. So wealth has nothing to do with how much you make. It has everything to do with how much you keep. That's where it starts. And so here's the deal. So when I said it's not about making more money, because right now, most of us are making more money than we did when we first entered the workforce, right? But how many of us are further in debt than we first entered the workforce? So let me tell you about two populations real quick. There's 98% of the population, and this is a government statistic, 98% of the population will either be dead or dead broke by the time they're 65 years old. Dead or dead broke by the time you're 65. Dependent on your family, your friends, or the federal government for your main source of income. I'm going to say it again. 98%. Come on, I want you to think, do you know 100 people? You do. 98%. Dead or dead broke. Think of 100 people you know. Majority of them are going to be dead or dead broke by the time they're 65, dependent on their family, their friends, or the federal government for their main source of income. Only 2% of the population, 2%, are financially independent. And that financial independence knows no race, no religion, nothing. They have studied this, that it doesn't matter our color, our race, even our religion. There are atheists who are billionaires, who have put into practice the principles to create wealth. There are Hindus who are billionaires, who have put in the practice to create wealth. Why? Because God's laws are applied to everybody, regardless if you believe in Jesus or not. And so when I began to accumulate wealth, I was like mad. I'm like, it shouldn't be this way. And why? Because if we are believers and we hold this book, which, by the way, let me show you the book. Boom. Look at that. That's the book. That's a Torah from Israel. That's an amazing thing to have your hands on. Okay. So anyway, which is, by the way, the book of Deuteronomy is right there in scrolls, handwritten by scribes in Hebrew. Anyway, so in that, when I started to see like, gosh, this is wrong. That age, by the way, doesn't determine whether or not you become wealthy. Educational background. First billionaire I ever met hello, had a 9th grade education, raised by a single mom, dropped out of high school the first year of high school. No excuse, none. So I know Hispanics that are financially independent. I know Africans that are financially independent. Asians are financially independent. You name it. That part doesn't matter. And that's the first thing that I had to get through my own head. That I am of a faith that teaches how to become wealthy. And I'm surrounded by a bunch of other people that are of the same faith, but they ain't wealthy. But here we have people that don't believe in that faith, but they do the principles, and the principles create wealth. So I say to you, my sisters, and any brother who might be watching, listen to me carefully. You got to get over any excuses you have concerning your background, your childhood, how you were raised makes no difference in how, whether or not you create wealth. Okay, that Bible does not say that, okay, if you are of this kind of person, then you'll be able to create wealth. No, those principles are universal for every single one of us. And when I saw that, because I'm telling you, I thought for sure I was plagued for poverty. I grew up in poverty. I had poverty habits. Poverty always seemed to rob me blind. Poverty of health, poverty of relationship, poverty of money, poverty in every way. And I was sick and tired of doing that, which is why I dove deep into that book and said, what's the deal? Isn't it that same book that says that he's a respecter of no man? A respecter of no man. You know this. So if it is he who's given us the power to create wealth, and wealth is accumulated little by little, then what we have to do is we have to do this. We also have to look into Proverbs that tells us this one thing too. This is a good one. This is a real good one. He who loves pleasure will have their fill of poverty. He who loves pleasure will have his fill of poverty. Now, right away, come on, friend, when I first read that passage, I thought to myself, okay, pleasure, like, ooh, that must be like pornography. That must be like, you can think of all the sins, but what we don't look at is the things we take pleasure in. I'm going to give you one pleasure that our country is addicted to right now, and that's called comfort, which is pleasure. Look up the word pleasure. You'll find comfort in one of the thesauruses of, that's a big word, one of the places where you'll find it. It's in there. Okay. So comfort being one, being comfortable. Being comfortable. Right now, what is your thermostat set at? It's pleasurable to be in 70 degrees when it's 90 outside, isn't it? It's pleasure. The pleasure of food. The pleasure of food, the pleasure of convenience. Our country is addicted to pleasures. Our culture is addicted to pleasures. Our faith is addicted to pleasure. But the Bible is clear. He who loves pleasure will end up in poverty. Now, here's the funny part, is that we don't even recognize these as pleasures. When we think of the word pleasure, we're thinking instantly of sexual sin. No! How about the pleasure of movies and Netflix and Amazon Prime? Come on, think about it. How about the pleasure of all the entertainment that we have access to by way of our fingertips, even on our phones? The pleasure of the comfortable couches that we're in. The pleasure of the decorating of our homes and the redecorating of our homes. Wealth is accumulated little by little. 98% of the population ends up dead or dead broke. Why? Because they live paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much they make. Do you hear me? When they made $10 an hour, they spent it all. When they made $20 an hour, they spent it all. When they made $40 an hour, they spent it all. When they made $100 an hour, they spent it all. So here's another principle, godly principle. The parable of the talents actually shows us exactly what we're supposed to do with money. So here, he gives us, here's the principle. To be honest with you, this is probably the most important wealth principle to understand. Sorry, I'm sweating because my thermostat is not set to 70. There you go. And it is 90 something outside. Okay, so yeah. The millionaire who's financially independent, thermostat is not set to 70 in her house during the day. Not happening. 78, 76. Why? Can I afford to have my thermostat up to 70? Yeah. But here's the principle I would be breaking. That once I learned this principle 20 years ago, this is when we started to create wealth. You ready? He who can be faithful with a little will be made ruler over much, much more. He who can be faithful with a little will be made ruler over much, much more. If you're trusted with a little bit, then you will multiply what you're faithful with. And see, Hans and I were not faithful with the little. If we're living paycheck to paycheck, we're not being faithful with the little. If we're buying every time we get a bonus, we're not being faithful with the little. If we're going shopping with our tax return, we're not being faithful with the little. If we're going out to dinner with a bonus that we got, some bonus money that came in, we're not being faithful with the little. Wealth is accumulated little by little. So wealth isn't what you're not spending and what you're refusing to let out of your hands. And it's accumulating it. And then it's learning to plant that seed. You see, we all have been to church so many times that before every tithe that's about to be collected, there is a favorite passage that seems to be talked about, right? Cheerful givers, right? Planting of the seed, reaping a harvest, even though those passages were not talking about money. And it wasn't talking about a tithe either. We certainly have used passages in lots of ways that have put a mark on our head that says, oh, this is what that means. No, you see, he who chases a fantasy has poverty waiting for him. He who chases a fantasy has poverty waiting for him. So if we think that we can be foolish with money, and we think that we can still buy all of our pleasures, like even right now, here's COVID-19, right? The writing is on the wall that money is in trouble, big, big trouble. And guess who's gonna win during all the crashing that's gonna happen in the marketplace? 2%ers, they're gonna win. 98%ers are not. They're not. How? They're still going through McDonald's drive-thru right now. They're sitting on their butts with Netflix nightly. They're going into debt with shopping online. Online shopping sales have boomed. Alcohol boomed. All conveniences and pleasures have boomed. And people are not thinking ahead. They're living as though nothing's happened. What about all those that are living on, unemployment? They're spending it all as though it's gonna keep coming forever. It's impossible for it to keep coming forever. All of this is a poverty mindset. He who chases a fantasy has poverty waiting for him. So some of the fantasies that I had to confront for myself was that money was going to last forever. That was the first one. I spent money like it was always going to be there. Well, we spent $1,200 a month on food. I didn't even know how much we were spending on food until I got this like conviction of like, how much are we spending on food? 12. That's a house payment. $1,200 a month is a house payment. By the way, we had just little babies in the house. There's no way we should have been spending $1,200 a month. And by the way, house was stocked with food. And we were still opening up the pantry and the fridge and the freezer going, there's nothing to eat. That wasn't being faithful with the little. There's nothing to eat. Pack up the kids, went out to eat. He who loves pleasure will have their fill of poverty. He who chases a fantasy, the fantasy that money's always going to be there, the fantasy that the government's always going to be there to pay for whatever it is that we need, the fantasy that somehow God is going to dig us out again. Don't you think that God would like it that you don't have to be dug out again? That I didn't have to be dug out again? Okay, so listen, so chasing a fantasy. The fantasy is that I can have all my pleasures, I can still spend and spend it like it's always going to be there and everything's going to be fine. No, The Bible also says that a wise man sees the trouble ahead and takes precautions for it. The Bible also says that we're supposed to be the lender, not the borrower. The Bible also tells us what we're supposed to do with that money. And the parable of the talent tells us what to do with it. We're supposed to become investors. So that seed, that is always talked about before the tithe and the offering is taken, that's actually an investing parable. And so is the parable of the talents. It's an investing parable. In fact, straight up, the parable of the talents. Remember the guy who took the 1 talent and he buried it? Do you remember? What did he say to him? You wicked, lazy servant. You should have at least put it at the bank where I could have collected interest. The parable of talents is an investing, and it says this, that the master is coming to shore up all accounts with us. What did you do with all the money I allowed you to make? What did you do with all the money that I allowed you to make? Where is it? Did you blow it on pleasures? How about this? Did you blow it on status? See, my husband and I, it was all about status. Gosh, that money went where? It went to, friends, listen to me. I'm talking about a financial vision. Our financial vision in our 20s was having a bigger house than everybody else had, right? Driving nice cars, wearing nice clothes, buying whatever it is that I want to buy, eating till I can't, eating to the fullness of gluttony, which, by the way, is greed, the Bible says, and greed leads to poverty, the Bible says. And greed, the Bible says, is not being able to be satisfied, never being satisfied with how much you make, never being satisfied with the blessings that you already have. That's called greed, and greed leads to poverty. So I had to confront these things. And the Bible literally came so alive as I began to dig through this and go, man, okay, Lord, this pleasure thing, like, what does that mean? What does that look like? And there it was, clear as day. All these pleasures that are robbing us blind. So I want you to think about this. So, okay, back to this scripture on give and it'll be given unto you, right? The scriptures about the sower. So look, the fantasy is this, that, okay, well, if I'm a Christian and I know an anointed person, then I'm gonna get the wealth blessing. No. There's 2 farmers, they buy a plot of land. One farmer is a farmer who he buys seed, he buys the equipment, he hires workers, he works his butt off. And then you've got the fantasy chasing Christian that does what? Brings their pastor and the worship leader, they have a nice little worship set, they're praying over the land, they're anointing the land, the guy never gets a single seed planted. What does that field get? Weeds. Weeds. The guy who isn't a believer, who is right next door to the other guy, he went to work. God says he blesses the work of our hands. He tells us we're supposed to invest. We're supposed to save. And with the savings, we invest and we multiply it. He gives us the ability to create wealth. That's what he gives us. So how did we break that down and make that plan in all our lives? Well, I took our food budget and knocked it in half. It was completely financially irresponsible for us to be throwing away food. If you have food that is growing hair in your fridge, if you have food that has now turned a different color in your fridge, that was cash that you are about to throw in the trash. If there are boxes of cereal that have stale cereal left, that is cash that's in the bottom of that cereal box. And we're throwing it away because now it's stale. What about all the bags of potato chips that are all open? Do you understand? We had a craving, we bought, I couldn't make a decision. This is Dani. Can't make a decision. I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one. Now they're all open. Well, if it's really Dani, I eat all of it, which is a really bad thing. Which again, back to gluttony, never satisfied. So we have all these chips. They're all stale. and we're going to throw them away. I heard someone just say, no, Dad, I'm going to give them to the chickens. Those some expensive food. Chickens know how to get their own food. They know how to eat bugs. Chickens knew how to survive way before us ever came along. So this is what people do. They justify throwing away food. Every time you throw away food, you're throwing away your wealth. So imagine we had $600 a month we were spending on food. Do you know how much you're spending on food? I want you to find it out tonight. And I want you to cut it in half. I had a woman who had 7 children, 9 people in the household. She took my advice. 9 people in the household. She's feeding 9 people every day. I said, no more than $20 per person for food per week. No, see, some of you spend that for lunch only. Pleasure, faithful with the little. Which one will you pick? People spend $20 on drinks. They'll lay down $20 for drinks. $20 per week per person in the house for food. What will it force you to do? If you're a single person and you got $20 and you go to the grocery store with $20, there's certain aisles you're not even going to go down. There's certain aisles you're not even going to go down. You're going to find that vegetables are really cheap, fresh, living food. I started shopping the perimeter of the grocery store, the whole outside of the grocery store. Why? First of all, it was all less expensive than everything on the inside. Everything on the inside of the grocery store and the inside aisles are very tempting. And they make you fat. They give you a big gut and a big butt, big thighs, big arms, and 3 chins. Everything in the middle. That's where the pasta is, right? That's where the cans of stuff is. That's where all the prepackaged things are. So when you're buying an apple and it's already cut up, this is not faithful with the little. This is pleasure and convenience. Pleasure leads to poverty. Now, I'm not saying we're not supposed to have any pleasure. What I'm saying is we're addicted to it. And we take pleasure in all things, everywhere, all the time, and we don't even see that it's pleasurable. If you have to cut your own apple, you're going to save money, number 1. Number 2, you're burning calories cutting an apple. You let somebody else, cut the apple for you, you're paying more money for the apple. And you're losing the opportunity to burn calories by cutting an apple. So that was one of the first places that we went. I brought my food budget down to $100 a week versus, do the math. So anywhere, and including diapers and cleaning stuff, which by the way, I took my cleaning products that down to just about nothing as well. I found one botanical bottle of something that I'd use for everything, including washing my face and my kids' hair and the floor, scrubbing toilets, everything, dishes, everything. It was super cheap. So I went through our accounts and I tracked every single dollar wherever it went. And I started slicing and dicing and I didn't buy soap anymore because I had lots of it in my bathroom already. So I want you to go, if you go through your house, you're going to find your wealth is in your house right now. Think about how many times you've redecorated your space. How many times have you redecorated your bedroom? How many clothes are in your closet that still have the price tags on them? Or things you've only worn once? What about all the different sizes we have in our closet? That's where your wealth is. Wealth is accumulated little by little. So what does it mean? It means that you're going to do the unpopular thing. That's what it means. It means that your friends are going to go, what has happened to you? When you say, no, I'm not going to go out to dinner tonight. Or you're going to say, okay, I'll go to dinner, but you're going to pack dinner. You're going to pack something that you made and bring it. And you'll say, I have a water, please. You're going to do the unpopular thing. Because guess what? 2%, they live a very unpopular life. They do. 98%, they're having fun doing that. But guess what? They end up broke. And right now they're screaming and whining and want somebody else to fix it. No, the 2% aren't looking for someone else to fix something. They know that they're in control of their choices. They're in control of their own life and they're in control of where they're going to go and what they do with their money. So bottom line is when you're forming your financial vision, okay? And my financial vision when I first started out making money was to spend. Like, let me go to Nordstrom, woo, and drop it like it's hot. That's what I did. It was terrible. And I ended up with so much debt and so much pressure and a heart attack at 24 and a nervous breakdown at 25. That's what I did with my life. That sucked. Almost ending up divorced twice. Gosh, it's bad. Don't go there. Then after I like, okay, I got to change the way I'm doing this. I don't want to keep living this life. Then it was, I'm going in the opposite direction. And I had heard somebody say this once. If you want to become successful, look at what everybody else is doing and do the exact opposite. I took that like very, very seriously. And so I attacked our food budget. I attacked our air conditioner and heater. I built fires during the winter. I'm a fire builder. Still into this day, the fire builder. I hate heat in a house. I'd rather have the heat of a fire. Not everyone has that, chance, but I built a fire. We layer up during the winter and we wear shorts and a tank top during the summer versus wearing the same kind of clothes all year round, which is what most people do in their houses. They're wearing long pants in their house during the summer. What are you thinking? Again, pleasure. Again, faithful with the little. And so these very simple concepts are really the basis of the rules, and understanding that God has given us the power to create wealth and that wealth is accumulated little by little. So I started taking money and putting it towards, and rather than, for example, spending the $600 more on food, that $600 went towards debt, right? Remember, I gave it to you. You're supposed to be the lender, not the borrower. So refuse to go into debt. Deny the debt train. It is nothing but bondage. It's nothing but being shackled with something that's sucking the life out of you. Just forget it. Everyone else is going to debt. So make yourself go, I'm not going there. I'll find a different way to do it. Another thing I had to do is ask myself, do I really want another shirt? And I'd make myself wait 30 days. Right? Come on, girls, you have been there with me, right? You walking through even Walmart of all places, and that top is singing you a song. Right? It's singing you a love song. Oh, and your first, middle, and last name. Oh my gosh. And you feel the anointing of God, right? On that pair of shoes, right? You've done that. I've done that. And then I just realized that was chasing another fantasy, trying to find something to make me feel better that day, right? How many of us, we're having a bad day, we go shopping. We're having a bad day, we go out to dinner, right? Again, buying pleasures with what? The wealth that we're supposed to be entrusted with. So my last passage is this. The wealth of the wicked will be transferred to the righteous. The question is, who is righteous? Think about it. According to Matthew 25, the one who was not investing was a wicked, lazy servant. If the wealth of the righteous, how did I say that? The wealth of the wicked be transferred to the righteous. You better make sure you're in the righteous position. Because he who chases pleasure is wicked. Not faithful with the little is called wicked in the Bible. I did a deep study on wicked, by the way, because I went to the same church as y'all did. All you have to do is know Jesus and you're righteous. Because you can know Jesus and bury the money instead of growing the money. And you're called a wicked, lazy servant. You go ahead and do a study on that one. You'd be amazed of what is called wicked and righteous. I don't want to be on the wrong side of that thing. It's real easy for us to judge who we think is wicked and who we think is righteous. Be careful. Be very careful. But how we're dealing with the seed that he has given us, the money he has trusted us with, what we do with it determines whether we're wicked or righteous. Also in Matthew 25, he divides the sheep and the goats, doesn't he? You know this one. To the sheep, he says, come and enjoy my Father's inheritance. Both the sheep and the goats call him Lord, by the way. Both say, Lord. For the goats, he says, go out where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. But Lord, why? Because you didn't take care of the poor. That's the basis. That's the basis of the entire thing. When I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was in prison, you didn't visit me. When I was sick, you did not come to me. When I was hungry, you did not feed me. When I was naked, you did not clothe me. You did not clothe me. So bottom line, what are you doing with the seed in which he's given you? He blessed the work of your hands with money. Money is seed. Where is it going? Are you making the grocery store more wealthy? Are you making the restaurants more wealthy? Are you making the clothing stores more wealthy? Is the wealth that God has transferred to you, are you giving it away to those who are working for it? Think about this. Because a portion of it, 10% of every dollar you make is supposed to go to the poor. And your church is not poor. It ain't poor. Sorry to tell you. 10% is supposed to go to the poor, the extreme poor, who cannot provide for themselves. And God said, now come on, this is what he said. Our salvation is tied to money, actually, and what we do with it. Ooh, that's a big, heavy one. Our salvation, it's right there in Matthew 25, right there. The goats sent out where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth because they did not take care of the poor. The sheep, because they took care of the poor, come into my Father's inheritance. Both called him Lord. So I know this is a harsh message, but this harsh message I first had to wear 20 years ago, and I still wear it to this day. I still live frugal, even though we're financially independent. I still, to this day, budget the food budget. I still, to this day, look for ways to not spend versus what I was, which was to spend. Still, to this day, I'm very mindful with what the little is. Still, to this day, watching my habits and seeing what kind of new pleasures am I allowing myself to get tied to. Still, to this day. And hopefully I will be mindful of these things forever. And still to this day, taking care of the poor to the tune of millions and millions of children that we've helped all over the world. Millions, whether they're sex slaves like Demisha, who grew up in Oakland, who we've just built a home here in Texas for kids who've been trafficked, and she's one of them. Or the kids in Africa, all over the continent, that we have fed and clothed and educated. Those all through the Caribbean and Haiti, building villages in Haiti, taking millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and taking care of those who've been forsaken, abused, those who've been lost. And I believe that you should join us on that adventure. Join us on the adventure of learning the skills. The Bible also says that skill brings success. Do you possess the skill of creating wealth? We have a track record of helping people create wealth. The fruit is all over the place. People with an 8th grade education, people with a degree, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We've got people with 8th grade educations. I've got a couple who's paid off over $800,000 worth of debt. They have an 8th grade education. They also have $600,000 in cash in the bank, and they are not worried about COVID-19. They're completely debt-free. Do you hear me? You can do what Tammy and her husband have done if you're willing to take the steps that they've taken and you're willing to learn the skills. None of us were born with the skills. None of us got the skills through our school. None of us got skills in college for creating wealth. They never teach us how to do that. And that's on purpose, by the way, different conversation, different time. But I'm willing to show you how. And I want to tell you, I don't take a salary from our business. The salary gets donated to the poor. So you ain't helping my bank account if you join Tammy and myself this weekend at First Steps to Success. It's virtual, so there's no excuse. You join us there. I'm going to show you and get you started on the very beginning steps of what has to happen in your mind and your heart and your physical labor. What to do with money, how to accumulate it, how to make more of it, how to pay off all of your debt so you are no longer the borrower, how to get on top financially. Join me there this weekend. I promise you, I will show you step by step how to do it. And as we do that, you're going, oh my goodness, as you fill this out, for example, as you join us, and by the way, we've had millions of people utilize our materials, but more importantly, I want to see this group who is doing this vision book to have a clear financial vision for your family, and that financial vision isn't what mine used to be, which did nothing besides make me a slave. But right here on your screen, you can see, you can register immediately. It's 100% money back guarantee. If you come with me starting Friday night at 6 p.m. all the way till Sunday night, and you don't learn anything, we will happily give you your money back. No questions asked. It's worth every penny. That woman right there in that blue, Tammy Watson, that woman was wearing a beautiful white dress sitting right in the front row at her very first steps in Dallas, Texas, October of 2008. Strapped financially, not knowing where she was going to sleep when she flew out to where this seminar was. She did not have the money to stay in a hotel. To see this woman today paying off $1.2 million worth of debt, money in the bank, investments that are producing wealth. Give me a break. You can do what Tammy has done. You can do what the many thousands of other people that have utilized First Steps to Success. You can do the same. You can do what we have done. You heard my background. We have the proof. We have the fruit. So I encourage you to fill out that form that's on your screen, and I'll see you this weekend at First Steps to Success so you can begin your journey of learning the skills to create wealth, learning the skills of coming out of pleasure so you can stop chasing fantasies like we had to, that you'll be able to see the places that are entrapping you. I didn't even know it was entrapping me until bam, there it was. But this weekend you're gonna see, and you're gonna get strong, and you're gonna have a clear line of sight to get you to where you want to go. So I wanna thank you so much. I'm sorry I've gone over 8 minutes. I apologize. God bless you, and I'm turning it back to Dr. Patricia. Thank you for being here.
Can I say this, Dani? Literally, I'm trying to hold back the tears. There's a common teaching, and we've been in those same circles in a lot of prosperity churches, and my staff is here to hear this. And I remember being in Congo where 2 million women were raped by weapons that our government provided after the Rwanda genocide. They got across the border and it never made the news. And I was looked down upon because the majority of the people on that mission wanted to go to the millionaires club and how to teach them to be wealthy. And my heart was saying, go in the war zone where those women have been raped. But it was a little girl, 8 years old, when we got there, had been multiple raped by soldiers 3 times. Her name was Mommy. Everybody knows the story. Had I listened to them and not gone, and I remember 3 o'clock in the middle of the night when we tried to find a plane that would go in the war zone, I said, Father, the teaching says this, Dani, if you give to the poor, you're going to always be poor. And you got to give upward to get blessed. And I said something that I don't see that in the scripture. And then here's another one. If you give to the poor, you're going to always be poor. And if you give to the poor, you're only going to get back what you gave. But the scripture says, God repays. You can't tell what God repays. So I said, if it means I'm not going to be popular and I'm left out and I'm not willing to detach myself from 41 years of giving my life to the poor. I said, Lord, I'm willing. That's what I said in that room at 3 a.m. in the morning. And when we got somebody to take us in the war zone, that little girl, Mommy, was on the other side of that obedience, who had been multiple gang raped. And we brought a group of women back with us, and the mayor told us it didn't exist. We came back 3 months later, put her in the house, bought furniture, got her mother out of the jungle, got the newborn baby out of the jungle. And I would be in conferences and I would hear them say that over and over again. And I was like, Lord, am I missing it? It doesn't bear in the scripture when I'm amongst the poor, when I see us providing clean water. I feel you. I feel your presence. I feel your presence the most manifest. So I sat here just trying to hold back the tears. There is not a doubt in my mind at all. One of the books that helped me so much was General Justice, because it's like the way things have been taught. People chased after things and investing in things instead of investing in people.
Yes.
But if you invest in people, you'll never lack. You'll never. So here I'm turning 62 in March. And I said, I've spent 41 years in 146 countries investing in the poor. If this is not right, if I'm blown it, then I've blown 41 years. But you know what?
what I experienced with what we just said this morning with those 900 kids with Ashton's or parents, orphans, to get them back. If all I get is what we've done for 41 years and 100 years to lift them and provide clean water, then the fulfillment is enough for me alone.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
So I'm settled, Dani.
That's
What
right.
you said tonight, I'm settled. And I mean, it's been back and forth. No, you get to the poor, you're going to be, because what you sow into, you're going to have the mind of those people. If you give to the poor, you're going to be poor like them. But the scripture,
That's not what the Bible says.
and if you give to the poor, you shall never lack. And he even if he that considereth the poor, what the Lord is going to do when you have a sustainable plan for them. So I did this exhaustive study on the poor.
Yes, me
And,
too.
and I was like, I said, they never told us this.
That's
They
right.
never told us this. And then I said, oh, because it was the benefit people. I said, okay, but I just was willing to stick with what I saw. And then I just said, follow Jesus' steps. What did Jesus do?
Amen.
Follow his steps. And so I'm going to be there this weekend. I'm sure the rest of the ladies are going to be there. And what that has done for me, Dani, like Tammy, I paid off over $2 million worth of debt. Donald Trump is my neighbor. I'm a little black girl from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, that was once a high school dropout, pregnant with an illegitimate child. Are you hearing me? And took a house that believed for $250,000 to come in 3 months, sold the house. And when Donald Trump became my neighbor and Terry Near, both of them started competing, top resorts, and my house was in the middle, and it kept going up, 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 up. They kept competing and my property went up. And I didn't even know what I was sitting on. Sold the show on television, $1 million listings. They took my house, they put it in a magazine with the Playboy Bunny Mansion that they sold for $250 million. My house was in the magazine. And from that, I took the money and paid off debt, paid off the ministry building, paid off the dormitories, paid off the parsonage, so we could have more leverage, more money to give to the poor. And this Ashton that your people are talking to, he's in South Africa right now. He's running all of this. And as a result of that, Ashton has been scholarship. We've been able to help Ashton. Ashton's in flight school right now to become a pilot. His parents now, we're going to help them with it. It's just so fulfilling. It's the money has a mission, the wealth has an assignment, and the prosperity has a purpose. So I share that. Tammy's going to thank you. I don't want to get in that lane. It's for Tammy to thank you. But you've settled my question. That was my question. I told Tammy I had a burning question. She answered it. And I don't care if they're a bishop or a pope or an apostle and how big, I'm not. If you settled it for me. And I can't wait till we compare some scriptures, because some of the stuff I've seen in there concerning what God will do when you consider the poor.
No, there's so much about it. And this one, you and I could talk for hours on that one. I did the same thing, the same deep dive about the poor that I did for money, same exact thing. And they're all connected, you know? So we'll never be in want if we take care of the poor. And yet our churches are telling us that if we give our tithe, we'll never be in want. I've asked the question. In fact, I was invited, I spoke at Morris Cirillo's conference, 6,000 leaders from all over the world. And I asked the question, I said, how many of you are faithful tithers? Oh, yes, amen. And I said, how many of you are still broke? I said, so there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Because if you're a giver, tell me why this promise isn't being answered. And I said, I'm going to tell you why it's not being answered. And so again, like, where's the tithe going? It's clear it's supposed to go to the poor. It's 100% clear. It's loud and clear right in there. It also says that if you ignore the cry of the poor, when you cry, you'll be ignored too. He says that if we take care of the poor, then he will be our rear guard. We have been protected. Our business has been protected in every down economy, including this one. Crazy. Why? Because he is faithful to his word. Bottom line. And at the same time, it's a whole formula that happens there. As far as, are we faithful with the little? Are we taking care of the poor? These two things together, protect and create wealth. That's how it works. And not only that, but I believe with my whole heart, you haven't lived until you've been face to face, cheek to cheek, chest to chest with the extreme poor. You have not lived. You have not lived until you have been right there with them. And I agree with you that the power of God, the presence of God is love. I've learned more from the poor than I have anybody else, challenging me so much. Why does this financially independent millionaire clean her own toilets? To remind myself I have one, and what a blessing and a pleasure it is. What a blessing and a pleasure it is to have one, and to not forget. When I'm standing face to face with my maker, me and the poor are in the same position. We're all in the same position. And I do not want to dishonor my Father. And what I do with money, what I do with my attitude, my arrogance, it takes humility to hear the cry of the poor. It takes humility to hear that cry. And it takes a whole nother level of humility to step up and do something about it. And to do, Patricia, I'm going to tell you, Dr. Patricia, sorry, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for doing what the word says instead of what man says, because man has been misleading people since the very beginning. And I don't want to be one that misleads, and I don't want to be misled. That book, his word, is truth. And if you have the courage to follow it, then you're going to reap the benefits, the rewards, the blessing, even during hard time, the blessing even during cancer, the blessing even during heart attacks, the blessing even during the time when you want to kill your own spouse or shut your kids out somewhere. You will feel his blessing and his love and his presence, no matter what hardship you're walking through, when you follow his word. And his word calls us out to take care of the poor. The word calls us out to be mindful with the little things. There it is. There is.
In my world for 41 years. That's been my world for 41 years.
Well, I want to hear more about what you're doing with that.
Everybody on the screen, they all know it. Ask them, ask Hash and Tammy. They all thought I was crazy. They'll tell you. They said to me, that's that girl going to Africa. Look at them. That's that girl. She spent 40 years of her life going to Africa with the poor. She crazy. I always going to Africa because that's my hometown. And going to Africa and all these other different countries, providing for the poor and providing scholarships and all this is what brought me to be sitting up on this hill where Trump is my neighbor.
Amen.
And it's Jehovah. I'm just show you how what you're saying is so true. You see this, Dani? And Dani, I live in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood. And Dani, I don't use the air conditioner. I use the fan. And I open the windows and let the air from the ocean come in at night. And you see, I don't have acrylic nails, Dani. I can have them. Come on. Because for these acrylic nails, a kid can go to school for you for what I pay.
That's right.
So
okay, I need eventually. I need to know more about what you're doing over there because we may have to do something together. To help with it, all of that. I'd love to.
Well, ladies, hasn't this been great? Look at this, guys. This just makes you so excited. Is this Haiti? Is this Haiti? Ashton, did you put these up? Are these your pictures, Dani?
They're not my pictures.
Okay, because it looks like either Haiti or Congo. Ashton, you created these? Because we've been working in Haiti for many, many years. School, clinic.
Same with us.
Tammy, you wanted to say thank you. Did anybody else have a question? That was the one burning.
Well, I think what we do, I do have, I don't know how much time we have with Dani, but Dani, I just want to say I thank you so much for coming on. And, like I said, this is not about me. You have taught me. It's not about me. It's about the people. And the way God lets this go is the way God wants it to go. And I'm so thankful that you and Dr. Pat got to meet because I talk about you two, Dr. Pat, all the time. God always orchestrates things to bring things together because I know your heart and I know her heart and how she take care of the poor, the extreme poor, and travel the world to do that. So I think, you know, I believe like you always taught me, Dani, it's about connecting, be a good connector and to connect people. And so I thank God that you guys are going to be able to connect because there's power there that you're going to be able to do more together to help inspire and change the world. And this is what this is about. This is not about me. God may gave me to say, hey, Tammy, start it. But guess what? It's about what God wants, and that's what I'm going to do. God the things what the people need, because you all needed to hear this. Because let me tell you, like Dani have told you, I mean, I am so thankful that, you know, and Dani, no, it took me a minute to get it, but God is so good that I was able to follow the skill sets that what she's teaching. And my husband and I are not drowning like we were before. We're not arguing. We're not fussing. I become an honorable wife, an honorable mother, an honorable friend, and people can contest to that. Yes. They know me now, and they knew me before, and they know me now. So you know, what she presented to you all, I hope that you all, not hope, but I know that you all will go and sign up and join us next week, this weekend that's coming up with Dr. Bailey, that she has already agreed for her entire staff to go. That's just a little bit what Dani gave you. It's so much more come to it because this is how you got the book. You understand what I'm saying? It's so much more. So you want to join us this weekend. It's going to be amazing. She just gave you a little bit. She came for free, and she's here to help you like she has helped me. Because believe me, I had to ask her, and she said, yes. So let me tell you all, in this time, we need to stay focused. In this time, we need to come together, collaborate together, and hear things that we need to hear that's going to keep us focused, because there's so much going on in this world, so much going on that you need to stay focused and do what you need to do. And that's something Dani has those skill sets to teach you. And that's where I'm at today. You know, where I'm at in this house today, I'm so happy. I wish we would have did it like 2 years ago, 5 years ago, move into our rental that we don't have to pay anything in such a time as this. Think about if I was in a $500,000 house and living from paycheck to paycheck, where I will be. But because of Dani, and you know, it's going to be some people that is going to be losing things. But guess what, guys? We come together, we learn skill sets. Guess what? We still can give to them. We still can be able to help people. You understand what I'm saying? So it's more to it than what we have before us. So I will suggest that you all get signed up right now for First Step to Success, because she is going to be able to take you to another level than what I'm taking you. We're still going to be together. We'll still have the same conversation. We'll still hear, you know, because I know some people thought I was crazy for selling and then moving into a rental property. But guess what? I'm not like the normal person. Hey, you know what? Because I'm creating wealth now. I'm to the next level.
Don't miss that mortgage payment, do you, Tammy?
Exactly.
I don't either.
So Dani has taught me to live like no other person live. And so guess what? I will be able to have the things that I want, I desire when I become financially independent. So don't get it twisted, okay? Because she does teach you that, but you got to learn those skills. And what she taught us tonight was so powerful. Those little skills about wealth, about saving, about investing. Those little things are so powerful tips. And looking where you're wasting, okay? Because those are big. So I just want to say to my coach, my mentor, that I with her for 12 years, y'all, 12 years, traveling the world. This lady have taught me we have been to Israel, all over the place, Belize, building houses, doing things. I didn't have that in my, I didn't have charity. But once she began to teach me and show me what, like, you know, Patricia said, having a purpose to a project, then things became different for my life. You know what I mean? So I just want to share that. I don't want to talk a little bit anymore. I want to get to the question. Dr. Bailey, do you have the question that we can ask?
I do. This is what the questions are here that are being asked. And the question is, how did you see wealth during the time that the only thing that was visible to you were your tips as a waitress?
Such a great question. I didn't see wealth. I didn't at all. When you're in that situation, when you're totally homeless, the only thing I was focused on was I don't want to be homeless anymore. And so I needed to make about $4,500, and my income was $1,500 a month. And so that's why I went and I started something else, in addition to my waitressing thing. So wealth was like, I never even wanted to be a millionaire. Like none of that was in my viewpoint. All I wanted to do, can I be honest with you? I just wanted to cut up my husband if I could find him in tiny little pieces. By the way, that's a story in the Bible. I'm just saying what some people feel, that's all. Anyway, so that was the last thing in the world I was thinking about was wealth. The concept of wealth really didn't come until I felt like we had been so deceived by church and by business for 10 years of my life. 10 years of my life, we were following everything that people were telling us to do, right? Church is telling us to tithe. We did that. And to give more, the extra offering on top of that. And all we're doing is draining ourselves dry. We just believe and all of your stuff is going to be taken care of. It was just all BS. We just found ourselves, the more that we heard those messages, the more we found ourselves further in debt and in bigger trouble financially and fighting like cats and dogs and not seeing a place to get ahead. So honestly, it was God. He done like bend me over his knee and gave me a good one. You know what I mean? That day, I will never forget it. Who is this all for? Like I had this. So wealth, that came in 10 years later after making money. Remember, I was 31 when I got that fatal heart condition. And that's when it was like, something's wrong. Something is not right here. We're doing everything we're being told, but why is it that we're still paycheck to paycheck? This makes no sense. No matter how much we make, we're still broke. So we literally had to go in the opposite direction of everything we ever knew and everything that was comfortable for us. So wealth was not in our scope when I was a homeless woman. No way.
So do I understand you to be saying this, Dani? Because people think I'm crazy. I believe the increase follows order. So things like keeping the closet organized and the garage organized, the unsupervised area of life, if you can't be trusted or faithful to deal with those little things, how can he trust you? I know my staff goes, here she goes, but I believe
you're right. You're totally right. You're absolutely right. There's that. And see, it's about diligence. He rewards diligence. There's so much in the Bible about diligent, and yet we are in a culture that doesn't even know the meaning of that word. And sadly, I have to say, the church is the most guilty of it. The church is selling a picture that is false, selling something that cannot ever be delivered. And here's the bottom line. If the gospel you're selling doesn't work in the Congo, it ain't the gospel, period. It ain't it. If it doesn't work, if the message of the Bible doesn't work all over the world, if it doesn't work for the poor, it doesn't work for anyone. It's not a false message. And so I'll be here for 3 hours if we get started on that conversation. Like, oh my gosh, it fires me up like you can't even imagine. But yes, no, order is important. He is a God of order. And this weekend, I'm going to be talking to you and teaching you how to understand the different types of personalities and how he made you and how who you are, can go and have wealth as well. Because I have people, like, forget it. It doesn't matter what your personality is. Obviously, Dr. Patricia and I have the same personality. I can tell already. So her and I have the same personality. And girl, I want to go to Africa with you.
You've answered all the other questions. Watch this.
I don't think she heard you.
How significant of a role does giving back play with wealth achievement? She answered it already.
You can't have one without the other. I will tell you that the wealthy are huge givers. And some of you might say, oh, that's because of tax benefits. No, trust me. They give far more than they can ever benefit tax-wise. I get in trouble every year because I give more than I'm allotted to. So I literally pay taxes on my giving. That's how sweet our government is. It's a joke. It's a mess. But nonetheless, no, I'm telling you, every successful person, financially independent person I've ever interviewed, they are huge givers. And we're always. Meaning it's not because now they have it, they're a giver. That's who they are. He gives to those who give. Stinginess leads to poverty. That's another one in the Bible about money. Stinginess leads to poverty. Clearly, it's right in Proverbs, written by the richest man that ever lived. Yep.
You've answered them all.
Praise God.
Well, I tell you what, but Dani, I don't think Dr. Patricia Bailey heard what you said.
Oh, is that her and I? Oh, that I want to go to Africa with her.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh my God. Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh, don't make me start spinning on my head, breakdancing.
No, I'm dead serious.
Would love to.
Serious. I've had a trip planned for the last 3 years, and it's been abducted every year. This year by COVID. Yep. And so I don't know when you're going or where you're going. My whole plan was to visit all the orphanages that we've built and farms that we've built for these kids. I mean, I've been taking care of one particular orphanage in Africa near Tanzania for 20 years. 20 years. These kids have grown up and gone.
Yeah.
Some of them are married now. Like, I want to see them I don't want pictures anymore.
You want to, because Bob Marley says to go there is to know there. And that's true. Like when you go there, it takes it to a whole nother place.
Yeah.
And you feel his presence in a real tangible way till it's like,
Yes.
whoa,
Yes.
there's nothing like it. You really feel his presence.
Yes.
I told my pastor, Bill Winston's my pastor, and I went in there and I said, Pastor, the only thing I know how to tell you is, and the only way I know how to say it is, you feel his tangible presence when you're amongst the poor and when you're lifting them and you have and much more than you ever felt it when I'm worshiping in church. I'm at a conference. I can't explain it. It's just real.
True. It's absolutely true. I feel it wherever I go, whether it's in Haiti or Belize, Nicaragua. We've done a ton of work in Nicaragua. India, we've been taking care of boys that their parents were martyred for Christ, and they were forced to watch their moms be brutally raped, and then both of them burned alive at the stake. We've been caring for these kids for 10 years, and I've been there with them, hugged them, kissed their faces. There's nothing like being there. Absolutely nothing like. And so Africa is on the list, and I have to go, and I would love to go with you.
We'll connect. We're just waiting for them to, because right now nobody's going to let America in. As soon as they lift things, I'll hold them, give you the schedule, because we had things already planned. We're just waiting for things to open up. Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, have we been blessed? Tammy, we can't thank you enough. You made it happen, Tammy. I'm so proud of Tammy. Tammy used to stay in my house before she ever got married, when nobody was there to believe in Tammy, when they talked about her. And Tammy's, she was suicidal, and she stayed in my house, and I saw something in Tammy. And we're talking about way over 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
30 years, because you brought all your houses.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Everything.
Over 30
Yeah.
years ago. And so when I look at her now, I said, look at Tammy. Tammy bought, she was my real estate agent for some of my properties. She brokered several of my properties. So the girl that was staying there 30 years ago would be the girl that ended up with broker the properties. Yeah. Tammy.
How about that? Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I know, Dani, you have to go.
I do have a class. And
Yes, I know you have another class, and I know some of the women had some burning desire they wanted to ask you. So I know that you can't answer one question, could you?
Sure.
So any ladies, we can only take one question. Who wants to be that person to ask Dani a question? Let's see. They still on.
Ashton, you got them on?
Okay, I got, who is CFC? We got one. Unmute, CLF.
CLF 10.
Yes.
That's Cecile.
Okay.
My question is regarding this move for a cashless society. Do you have a plan in place for that?
We already had kind of moved to that because cash is hard to track. And digital, sadly, is easier to track. And so we've kind of been on that plan already. But the issue is, whether it's cashless or not, track. You gotta track. If you track and this is what's interesting, 2% always tracks their money. They know where it's going, but 98% never knows where it's going. Most people, and again, I've taught this before, hundreds of thousands of people. When I ask, have you ever gotten a bonus? Yeah, where did it go? They're like, I don't know. Where did it go? Okay. But financially independent people, they know exactly where they put the bonus. You understand? So regardless if it's going to cashless or not, bottom line, you want to become an avid tracker. You're a governess over a certain financial territory. You are a governess. He appointed you as a governess over financial territory. That financial territory is the amount of income you have coming in. And he's going to come and say, what did you do with it? Right. So us becoming more efficient is how the governess gets promoted to the higher next position, to govern a larger territory. Do you understand? Like, don't use toilet paper to blow your nose. Don't buy Kleenex. Use old rags. That's what I have. That's what I do. Rather than using toilet paper or wipes for the intimate, sexual, wonderful times with your spouse, use an old rag.
Save the money.
Saves money. Do you understand? So if you were to come into my house, the territory that I govern, you will see that I will not throw away the last bite of potatoes. I won't do it. I will turn it into a taco. House. The next day, that bite of potato is showing up in that meal. Some way, I don't care if it's pasta. Let's just mix that shit. That's gonna be good, right?
I hope my son is watching, because they call me the queen of the leftovers. That's the grandkids. Grandma Yaya, queen of the leftovers. Look at Seal shaking her head.
Yeah.
And they have a joke. They're like, "Oh, you better watch. It's probably old enough to vote."
So
well, I tell you what, that is
or not, that is insignificant. What's significant is learning to track it all. Make that dollar produce another dollar, and really test. Is this really worth it? Right?
Wow. Well, I tell you what, y'all can get more of my coach.
Thank you.
You can get more of my coach. We're also going to put it inside of the Vision Book Club. We also have it, we're going to have it on Dr. Patricia Bailey, so you all can sign up so you can get more tips from her soon. And so what we want to do, is she still there?
She be gone.
Dani, are you still there?
She's gone, Ashton.
Drop off, because a lot of people have been dropping off.
Yeah, because remember she said she had to run and go do something, remember?
Yes. Well, she must have dropped off, because a lot of people was going to drop off. And what I was going to do is tell her bye.
Oh, that would have been sweet.
But you can all still do this. Open up your camera, because she must have dropped off, because people have been dropping off and coming back on, and I've been letting them back on. So if everyone can open up your camera right now and tell Dani thank you so much.
Yeah.
And welcome her. Yeah, say thank you. Everybody say thank you.
Thank you, Dani.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Look,
Yes,
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So did you
do that.
she must have dropped off, and I know she got to go to another call, because I'm on a coaching call as well with her. And so, but what do you guys think?
I'm speechless, Tammy.
Thank you.
Yes.
It was awesome. Thank you, Tammy.
Can we all say thank you to Tammy? Can we all say thank you to
Thank you,
Tammy?
Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy.
Tammy.
You are so
Thank you,
Tammy.
How we going on?
Thank you so much, Tammy.
Phenomenal.
You
Thank
are
you,
so
Dr.
welcome.
Bailey.
Well, you know,
Thank you,
guys,
everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey.
Yes.
Dr. Bailey, she did an amazing job, because she helped me out with this. And I just want to say, guys, you know, I did not think that this vision book was going to go like this. I just thought maybe it was just one thing that we were that first day. And then the Lord said, no. Oh, see, Ashton keep dropping off. I'm letting you back in. And the Lord said, no. Exactly what he said to me. And the Lord told me that I needed to do this and to bring people on. So I want you guys to, because we're going to have a manifestation party. And it's so important for you all to create that vision book. Don't just get on here just to get on here. Start with that spiritual part. If you don't have the information, I will send it to Dr. Patricia Bailey for some of you all. And just, oh, that was Jennifer. Come back, Jennifer. This is Dani, your assistant. Go back. Jennifer, we just seen her.
She's there. I see her. Hi,
There, I don't
She's
see her.
here.
Say hello.
She's there.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Amen.
Hi,
Let me
wonderful.
How are you?
Good.
Yes,
Thank you
show
so much
it.
for having Dani on tonight.
Oh, that's
Yes.
sweet.
So you want to say anything? This is her personal assistant that takes very good care of her.
Yeah, she had to hop on. She's got a coaching call tonight that she's doing with a group of individuals who have invested, and this is her last one with them tonight, so she's really excited for that.
Oh, she's good and pumped up.
All right.
Thank
Please
Show
tell
them
her
the
thank you.
studio.
No, that's a surprise.
Oh,
I know.
okay.
It's already somewhat showed. That's for this
Okay.
weekend.
Yes. So did you
We've
want
been
to say
busy getting
anything?
things ready for the virtual event for First Steps to Success. So hopefully, I'm excited to see the ones that are going to be there this weekend. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to call. Tammy's going to put a phone number in there as well as the links. For those of you who are going to join us this weekend, Tammy's worked out an amazing promotion for all of you guys to be able to join. It's typically $337. To attend the virtual event. She got it for you guys for $200 per person. So
Whoa!
amazing opportunity. So take advantage of it. And she's going to post the link to get you access to that page. Once you submit your information, you'll go straight and register. And it should be able to put Vision Book, all caps, Vision Book, one word, and that will give you the discount. If you have any problems, we'll make sure you guys also get the 800 number, the 866 number for you to call to make sure we can get you all taken care of. Diane and her team will be there to answer any questions that they have. And this is Diane. She was also on listening tonight. So
Hi.
a great job. And Patricia, I'll be connecting with you so that I can connect you and Dani.
I can't
Yes.
wait.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Jennifer, for putting all this on. And you guys, $100? What? Never paid that, man. I've been with her for 2 years. And I didn't pay that. Come on now.
They
So
say, Tammy, they say favor ain't fair, remember?
that's right. Favor ain't fair. So I just want to thank her. So you guys
watching, Tammy.
get over. Yes. Yes. Get over and get signed up. $200.
Yeah, I put the link in there. It says go to DaniJohnson.com/wealth vision. That's the page that you guys need to go to. So there's
Yes.
a click in the chat. If you guys click on there right now, we can go ahead and get you all taken care of.
So we can actually pay now?
If you go to that link and then you'll click on, put your information in, and then they'll follow up with you. But there's a spot when it takes you to the thank you, we received your information. There's a spot where you can either have access to Dani's, you'll get a sample of her life map, which is a membership that we have that takes you through your vision of what your vision is for your money, for your relationships, for all of that kind of stuff, as well as a link below that that's for First Steps to Success. And in there, you'll just put the promotional code Vision Book.
How many ladies are going to join Tammy and I this weekend? Invest in yourself. Let me see the hands. Let me see. I see one. I see two. Come on, look at those hands. I want you to go back and show Dani these hands.
I'm going to
Show
try.
your hands.
That's like investing in yourself for just something as small as $50 a week for a month. That's
Yeah.
$200. That's it.
I mean, she has never did $200.
No,
Take it,
she
don't
hasn't.
lose the opportunity. Don't lose
This
it.
is like a blessing. And let me tell you,
You know what, right? Tammy,
Go
the
ahead.
Bible says provoke one another to good works. And what I know the enemy will do, like people are stirred now.
go
And
ahead.
it's something about making a commitment. And then later on, when things come up, you've already made the commitment. If you don't make a
Everything for your
commitment,
staff.
they'll try to talk
Pay
you out of
for
it. I'm
us.
not saying pay it now. I'm simply making a commitment now. Less out of the integrity of your own words. See how many of you are ready to make a commitment now out of the integrity. Be integral to yourself. Raise your hand if you want to do that this weekend. Let me see again. Make your commitment. Let me see. Make your commitment to yourself. You see them, Tammy? You see those? That's your internal commitment to yourself. And guess what? I can't wait for us all to be there this weekend. And now when something tries to come up, remember, swear to your own hurt and change not. Okay? See you this weekend. It's going to take you to the next level. Right, Tammy?
Yes, it's going to take you to the next level. Let me
That's why we
tell you.
provoke one another to good works. MTM staff, we're going to all be there. Okay? And my gift to you.
my gift to you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Tammy, I'm supposed to be my time saying goodbye to you.
I know you do, because you have to go too.
You hear me?
Tammy, somebody's saying something.
No, somebody said something. Go ahead.
I thought somebody was saying something.
Well, I'll just say this, Dani Johnson, thank you so very, very much. When my mom and I were working, Mother Hash, everybody knows Mother Hash and I were working and going and volunteering at the Holly House Women's Shelter. You remember, Jen?
I do.
And Dani came and blessed us so much and blessed the women from the Holly House Shelter. And I mean, she just, you talking about an humble multi-millionaire. I mean, she laid at my mom's feet and asked my mom to pray for her, Mother Hash to pray for her.
Yeah.
And just, what else can I say? And those women have been so blessed. And to this day, and some of them might be on the call tonight, I'm not sure. But to this day, some of those girls that were at the shelter now are working at the shelter. They came out of that shelter. They went to school from the scholarships that we gave them. And then now they went back to the shelter where they used to be residents and are counselors now. Some of those girls, one of them is a beautician and owns her own beauty salon. Another one of the girls took our scholarship and went to school to be a medical clerk. I think I'm saying it right. But testimony after testimony of lives that have been changed from that day that you all came to Winston-Salem. Didn't nobody know who Dani Johnson was. And you all came to Winston-Salem and had that conference for the Holly House. And so I just wanted to throw that out there to let you all know, Winston-Salem people. Dani Johnson was in Winston-Salem.
How long ago was that, Fran? How long ago was that?
Oh, how long ago was that? About 10 years ago, I believe.
Yeah,
it was.
2009, I thought.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Was it 14? Yeah, 2009, somewhere like that. Yeah, but yes, that's the kind of woman that you all have listened to tonight that came and shared her story of her homelessness with those women and changed their lives. And you should see some of those women now. You would never know that they were in a shelter, homeless. No. You should hear their stories. As a matter of fact, I'm working with a couple of them right now who are writing their stories, because you know how I feel about books and writing your story, putting it in a book. And so I'm working with them. Hopefully by the end of this year, they'll have their books ready.
That's awesome.
To get published. Yes, just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, Tammy, we're doing like we did the last few weeks. Y'all are hanging around like, good night, John Boy. Good night, Luann. Nobody wants to.
I'm going to hang up. I got to go to the other call.
Yes, we do too. So I just want to say I love you all. And I can't wait to get you all in our space this weekend. We're going to have a great time. So let's show. And guess what? Jennifer, could they give their friends or their family member that?
If they have that code, yes, ma'am. Just that link in that code.
So you can tell your friends and your family member, and they have to have that code, Vision Book code.
Tammy, you better go, Tammy.
Yes. Thank you. Love you. I got to jump on the call with Dani.
Okay, guys. Love you all. Love you all. Ladies, we love you.
Bye. Good night.
Love you.
Good night. Thank you all.
Hey,
Take
ladies,
care.
you'll be hearing from the team this week because we're galvanizing together for Tammy, okay? You'll be hearing from my team. I was supposed to say that. Helping Tammy go to the next level, okay?
Absolutely.
Oh, you are so sweet, Dr. Patricia Bailey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to help her, okay?
Yes, I know you've been pushing.
Okay, cool. Don't act like you don't know us when we call. It'll be Robin. It'll be.
Yes, Robin is already on it, honey. And also, we want to say thank you to Ashton because he did a really good job hosting, making sure this.
And where's Robin? Where's Robin?
Robin is right there. Robin Brown.
Robin, okay.
Dr. Francine Hash.
Highlight Robin. Robin, let them hear your voice so when they get a call from you this week, they'll know. Can you unmute?
Hello.
From New York City.
Oh, there's Robin.
Hello.
Yes.
Looking forward to
So
chatting.
this has been great. And thank you so much for your support. And, you know, this was ordained by God. It was supposed to happen just like the way it happened. And I'm so thankful. And there's Leonie. Miss Leonie, you was not there when Dani was here. Miss Dani is one that built her orphanage. that she has.
Wow.
Yes. You trying to? You have to take it off mute, Miss Leonie.
I was on there. My picture didn't come up, but I
Oh,
was on there listening to her.
Is that Belize? That sounds like a Belizean accent.
it is. It
I
is.
Yes,
know, I
yes,
can tell.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was on there, Tammy.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
I heard her, but and I heard Jennifer.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sign up for you. You know, she just did a promotion for $200.
Yes, I know. It says Vision Book for $200. I
you
heard
got
it.
it, Tammy. She has it.
Could you believe that? Because she's
I'm shocked.
me too.
I thought it was gonna be at least 500, minimum 500 for this weekend. For three for the weekend.
Yes. That's nothing. You know, that $200, what people going to invest into themselves, that they're going to come out walking, making millions of dollars. What?
I see Paulette. I see Paulette.
Yeah, Paulette's in. You in with us, Paulette. So we're going to have fun together. We're going to have our own space, and I'm excited about that. Dr. Patricia Bailey, so thank you, Dr. Francine Hash, for helping me bring it in. And
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
you know, Mercer Miller, she was on there. I know she had to jump off on our call that we had.
I never get to see Mercy. This every week. I keep telling her. I look
Yes.
in the kitchen. Y'all tell her that I ask about her every week. Do y'all tell her? I ask every week. Where's Mercy?
Yeah, her business exploded, you know, and so she was on there for about an hour. Then she had to jump off.
I see Cassandra. I see Diane. I see Angela. I see Pamela Renee. Oh my God, some of my school graduates. I see